One of the major topics of discussion from this game was the amount of pressure that Patrick Mahomes faced. Chris Collinsworth talked about it extensively during the broadcast, and it's been a discussion point on various studio shows and game breakdowns since. Per Next Gen Stats, Patrick Mahomes faced pressure on 16 dropbacks on Sunday night. We're going to look at 7 of them and hopefully get an idea of what was going on, see what the problems were, see if they look fixable, and see what potential solutions could be. Let's start with the first pass play of the game. So the Chiefs got the ball first. They started their drive with a series of runs, getting the ball down to the 48-yard line, where they have the ball now, 1st and 10, having run about a minute and a half or so off the clock to this point. Now, they come out here in a 2 tight end set. So this is 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. There's Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, the running back being Isaiah Pacheco. And they've got 2 wide receivers over here, DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy. They're going to start this play motioning Worthy over and identifying what looks like a zone look as the Chargers shift over, but nobody runs with Worthy straight. So anticipating zone coverage, what the Chiefs end up running, they're going to actually have chip help for both of the tackles. Noah Gray is going to stay in to try to chip over here, and Isaiah Pacheco is going to try to chip to help Juwan Taylor on his way out to the flat. The route combination, Xavier Worthy is going to run a clear out corner route, and Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins are both looking like they're running crossers here. Now, the first thing that happens at the snap, if you notice, so this is Chiefs' new left tackle, DJ Humphreys, right? So Humphreys and Juwan Taylor are the 2 guys getting chip help. Right at the snap, Humphreys gets into his pass set, but Bud Dupree actually hangs back. He doesn't rush initially, and Noah Gray kind of has nothing to do with his chip, so he ends up coming out to the flat. On the other side, Pacheco is doing a fake handoff, so he takes a minute to get out to his chip where he tries to give a little bit of a hit to the rusher as he gets out. You can see right here. But the pressure really comes from the left side in this case. So DJ Humphreys, his first pass set of the day, he sets, Dupree hangs back, but then makes a late push. He kind of like takes a running start at him and corners him almost immediately. Humphreys tries to get a hand on him right here. Dupree's able to swat it away easily and get right past him toward Mahomes. Mahomes still gets the pass off because the Chargers left a huge void in the middle of the field here. So Kelce, as he was running across, just hung out right in the middle and was wide open for Mahomes. So even with the quick pressure, Mahomes is able to get the pass off for a 12-yard gain of 1st down. But the answer on this play, as far as what caused the pressure, this was just a one-on-one loss by DJ Humphreys. You know, his first pass set in, I don't even know how many months. He tore his ACL last year with the Cardinals and was cut. Hasn't played a down of football since until this game. So, you know, first pass set, not surprising that somebody beat him around the edge, especially as this was an unexpected style of rush for him. Dupree kind of hung back initially and then took a running start and went right around him. So not that surprising, not that problematic as long as it doesn't become a pattern during the game. Juwan Taylor is kind of losing slowly, which is perfectly fine in this situation. The pocket is collapsing. Even from the middle, Joe Thuney is getting slowly walked back. But again, it's more than enough to allow time for Mahomes. So in this case, the major source of pressure was DJ Humphreys, the left tackle. So we'll continue monitoring that as we go further. The one thing that's kind of weird about this play is it looks like the Chargers are playing quarters coverage, and they've got these 3 underneath. Hopkins and Kelce are both coming toward the middle of the field, which, you know, you often see like crossers run against man. They can be run against zone, but they're a little less common. But what functionally it ends up doing, since the guy playing this outside quarter only has Hopkins to worry about on his side of the field, and then Hopkins comes in, he runs with him. You can see him. He doesn't, like, what's the point of staying out in your quarter? You had one receiver over here, and that receiver decided to do this. So he ran with him, and Hopkins ended up bringing a defender in toward Kelce. So when Kelce makes this catch, he's the guy that actually makes the tackle. So I'm not really sure why in this situation where the Chargers are playing a middle of the field open coverage and why the Chiefs end up having two guys coming here. It makes me feel like one of them is probably wrong unless they were just supposed to run crossers, but that does seem kind of odd. It doesn't seem like something that Andy Reid would set up. It's possible maybe that Kelce was supposed to run a corner here and he saw the middle of the field was open and just went there. To me, that's probably the most likely thing because we know that Kelce ad-libs. It seems like the defender was expecting Kelce to run a corner, as you can see him dropping and getting depth. So that would be kind of my best guess, is that Kelce's probably supposed to run a corner. He sees what they're doing. He sees that as a middle of the field open coverage and just comes to the middle, which is where Hopkins was probably supposed to be. That's my guess, but who knows? Anyway, not the main topic of this discussion. Our discussion is about DJ Humphrey, so we can see his quick loss here. Again, the pressure that he allowed from the end zone view. And if you see, so he takes a set, Dupree waits, and then goes. Humphreys actually commits a penalty here. This is illegal hands to the face right there. I wonder if the reason why the referee didn't see it was that Dupree swatted it off so fast. Like if you see how quickly Dupree's able to disengage from his hands and pressure the quarterback. But I actually didn't notice the penalty either until I really slowed it down in real time. I mean, you can see it, but it's so quick. So not only did Humphreys lose quickly, he committed a penalty that fortunately for the Chiefs was not called. But that's the story of pressure number 1 in the game. Let's look at some more. All right, so our next clip is from 10:53 to go in the first quarter. We're still on the same drive. The Chiefs have a 3rd and 10 at the Chargers' 27-yard line. So the Chiefs on this play come out in 11 personnel, right? 1 running back, 1 tight end. Running back is Samaje Perine. The tight end is Travis Kelce. And they have 3 wide receivers. Here is Justin Watson. Here's Xavier Worthy. Here's DeAndre Hopkins. So they end up walking Kelce in. And they're going to run the following route combination. They're going to have Worthy clear out the defense up the middle of the field. They're going to have Watson bend over and run like a deep in. Kelce is going to come up just short of the sticks and curl. And Hopkins is going to like fake a corner slat or an out and then come back in and curl here. The area of interest now with our pressure, if you look, so the Chargers are going to rush straight up on their right side, but on their left side, they're going to run a stunt. So if we watch the Chargers' left side here, so they start with the tackle coming up on Juwan Taylor, the guard on Trey Smith, as you would expect. And then they switch. So this ends up being what you would call a tackle end stunt, because the tackle goes in first to hit, and then the end loops around. So it would be a TE or a tackle end stunt. So there goes the defensive tackle. The end comes in and is able to get a little bit inside of of Trey Smith. So they end up kind of getting the best of both worlds on this stunt, in that the tackle, the stouter guy, is able to bull rush Juwan Taylor back. And the end, the quicker guy, is kind of able to get around Smith a little bit and collapse the pocket. And Mahomes doesn't feel comfortable. So if we look at what Mahomes is doing, he starts, his eyes are straight down toward the middle. He seems to be looking at Worthy to start. Then you'll notice as he drops, right here, he turns his eyes over. He's looking at Kelce now, and he has started to kind of hitch back like he's going to throw the ball. Right here. You can see that right there, that motion right there. He was about to throw it, and then he hung up. I'm guessing the reason he didn't was that he wasn't confident in getting this throw out of this muddy pocket as people are coming back toward him. It doesn't help that the pocket's collapsing on this side either. So he really just doesn't have the time in this situation. I mean, he hits, wait, and then tries to make a throw on the second hitch. So this was a little slower developing play right here. Hits the back of his drop, hitch, tries to throw on the next one, and then has to bail. Which, one could argue that should be enough time for somebody to be open. And then I guess your argument would be, well, Kelsey was open. It's just that he didn't feel like he had the throwing lane once he decided to throw that ball. Once he came off of Worthy. It's clear that for him, Worthy was read one. Then he went over to Kelsey, and by the time he got to Kelsey, he didn't like it. At this point, the pocket's collapsing. He sees guys getting washed in, so the move here is to step up. I should say washed out. The move is to step up. But we have this unfortunate combination of the pocket being collapsed in this direction, but not containing in this direction, so Mac is able to spin back out and track Mahomes down. The ideal is that if you're beat to the inside or to the outside like this, if you're able to just wash them down entirely, you can provide a lane for Mahomes to go up. But unfortunately, that didn't happen here. So Mahomes comes up, Mac is able to backtrack, and Mahomes is sacked. The unfortunate thing is if Mahomes did have room to step up here, Justin Watson came wide open in the middle of the field. But at this point, I mean, he's got Khalil Mack hot on his heels. Like, there's no way to make this throw. So it was the right side of the line this time. The left side, if you see DJ Humphreys, he's getting kind of walked back slowly by Nick Bosa, or Joey Bosa, I should say. But then Tooney comes over and helps and kind of eliminates that threat. It was the tackle end stunt that undid this play. That I will say, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll see that it's end tackle stunts have been causing the Chiefs' right side a lot of problems. They actually passed the stunt off, which is more than I can say for a lot of the end tackle stunts they've had before. But unfortunately, it still was enough pressure to completely disrupt this play. And after the pressure, unfortunately, they weren't able to prevent the backtrack. I think Smith was so worried about being beat to the outside that he overcompensated right as Mahomes is stepping up, and that allowed Mac to backtrack. Unfortunate combination, but completely different source of pressure than we saw on the first play, which was DJ Humphreys in his new position, or I should say on his new team after missing a lot of time. So here again, you can see this is a tackle end stunt. So the tackle comes first, and Khalil Mack goes back around, and they're able to just continue down, bringing that. So here you can see it. Look at Mahomes' eyes. Mahomes starts looking straight ahead, and you'll see Worthy kind of flash across the screen. There goes Worthy. Mahomes is looking for this route first. And then you can see he drops back. He looks over to Kelsey. He wants to throw it right there. But you can see, and my guess is he doesn't like his chances of getting an accurate throw off over this collapsing pocket. Eyes go down. Now he's looking to run. And if Smith were able to wash Mac down, then there's a potential of an escape here out through the A-gap, but Mac was able to track him back down. Mahomes has nowhere to go. And we see right here, if Mahomes had that freedom, if Mac hadn't been able to track him back, let's say Mac is out of this picture and Mahomes can step up, here comes Justin Watson wide open over the middle. One more pressure, this time for the right side causing it. Let's look at the next one. All right, for our next play, we jump ahead to 4:42 to go in the first quarter. The Chiefs are up 3-0 at this point, and they have a 3rd down and 4. So what they come out in here, they're in 12 personnel. That's one running back. That's Samaje Perine. Their 2 tight ends are Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. And then 2 wide receivers. That's Justin Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. They motion Kelce over, and they're going to run the following route combination. They're going to send Gray on a post. Kelce is going to come and run a whip route. Watson is going to run a deep curl, and Hopkins is going to run a crosser. P. Ryan is going to exit and then run to the outside. The Chargers actually run a double man coverage. So what that means is essentially Noah Gray's post is going to be covered by the safety and the corner. Justin Watson's curl is also going to be covered by the safety and the corner. Then we got manned up here, and once P. Ryan exits, the linebacker is going to man him up. So this is a great coverage to run against as a quarterback if you get a good pocket, because there isn't anyone whose main job is just looking back at the quarterback. Everybody's following a man. Now the safeties, they kind of like half double, like they're still looking, but they're also way down the field. We're talking about 3rd and 4. So if Mahomes had a clear pocket, this would have been a great time to run. Unfortunately, he did not. And the answer as to why comes this time from a tackle and stunt, and that happens on the offense's left side. So what happens, Khalil Mack ends up crashing in, allowing the defensive tackle to loop around. Humphrey and Tooney just haven't played together. So this is one of those things where they're going to, develop chemistry and hopefully figure that one out. This is another somewhat more understandable situation. The first pressure we said was fairly understandable because Humphreys, it was his first pass protection snap after a huge layoff and an injury. The second one was a little tougher because it was two guys that play together a lot and have been struggling with stunts for a long time. This one's a little more understandable again. Tooney and Humphreys haven't played together very much. Mack comes in, Humphreys follows him, and they're not able to pass this off, which allows the tackle then to come around untouched and pressure Mahomes. What Mahomes is trying to do on this play, he drops back. He wants Kelsey. He's looking at Kelsey on the whip route, and Kelsey does not win. So Mahomes comes, at this point he drops, because when you see it, he drops, he hitches, and so the pressure does come a little faster than you'd want it to, but because he doesn't really have time to go from 1 to 2 to 3. He's looking at 1. He seems to give a quick glance over here to Hopkins, but just a fleeting glance, and then tries to bail and throw it out to P. Ryan and isn't able to get the throw off because of the pressure. So we can see it again from the end zone view. If we're looking at the left side of the line, Tooney and Humphreys. Mack comes like he's rushing straight up, then pulls Humphreys in. He does a great job of engaging Humphreys and getting inside so that he pulls Humphreys with him. So and he contacts Tooney right there so that the looper is going to be inhibited by nobody. And so ideally, if this is run correctly, the tackle and end the guard and tackle are at similar depths so that the inside guy can be passed off, and then the tackle can free himself to take the outside guy so nobody gets free. In this case, Humphreys runs with Mack, and so Humphreys and Tooney both get occupied by Mack, and the defensive tackle can come across and pressure Mahomes. That's just something that the two of them, as they work together, hopefully will familiarize each other with each other, and so they'll be able to handle stunts like that. So you can see here, look at where Mahomes is looking. Mahomes wants Kelsey from the start. That's his first read. He's looking over there. He sees Kelsey doesn't win. Another unfortunate thing is because, not that he had that much of an option, but because Mahomes sees Mack coming in, he naturally drifts away from that, which puts him even more in line, unfortunately, from the pressure of the looper. But you can see Mahomes looking for Kelsey, and right here he realizes, Kelsey didn't win. Now you see his eyes over toward Hopkins, and he doesn't like that. Hopkins is being trailed pretty tightly there, and so at the last second he tries to get out to P. Ryan and isn't able to get the throw out there. Another thing to note about this play, the Chiefs didn't really run any special man beater concept here. Like, this is just somebody's got to win. He didn't win. Mahomes tried to just dump it off to him. Like, nobody's open here. So that's another part of the problem on this play. Like, if Kelsey wins his whip route, like, we're not worried about the pressure on this play. That's a first down, right? So part of it was the Chiefs players not actually winning against man, unfortunately. But in any case, we have now 3 different causes for our pressures, right? The first one was Humphreys getting beat. Second one was a stunt on the right side, getting the guard and tackle, Taylor and Trey Smith. And this time a stunt on the left side, got the left guard and left tackle. That's Joe Thuney and DJ Humphreys. We're now at 13-13 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs have a 3rd and 4, and they're still up 3-0 at this point. The Chiefs come out here in 11 personnel. That's 1 running back, 1 tight end. 1-1 gives you 11 personnel. There are 3 wide receivers. So the running back is P. Ryan. Tight end is Travis Kelce. The wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins, and Justin Watson. They motion Juju over, and the Chiefs identify that they're going to be playing against man. So the Chargers are essentially running a cover 1 man, but they only rush 3 on this play. So that leads them to have more underneath defenders than one typically will see. Usually if you run cover 1 man, if you have 1 deep person, then you've got 4 people rushing. That's 5 of your defenders. And then you have to account for 5 of their off wide receivers, so you're manning all those up. So you usually have 1 person available to sit in an underneath zone. But in this case, you have 3 people rushing. That frees up an extra person. So you have 2 people sitting in an underneath zone in this situation. So to beat man, the Chiefs have a concept they run over on this side. They're basically sending Hopkins and Watson up. They're eventually going to run these like out routes. But the point, they send both of them up to try to create traffic. They're motioning Juju and trying to get Juju to run an out route underneath. And they're hoping that they can create a pick situation with these 2 routes so Juju can come free. Unfortunately, that doesn't work to Mahomes' liking. So there goes Hopkins. This is Juju's defender. And Justin Watson, who's very good at this, does a great job of trying to get in his way without committing offensive pass interference. Like, if he runs through him right here, this is going to be a penalty and it's coming back. So Watson does a good job of avoiding him, but it doesn't seem like something was not to Mahomes' liking here. I don't know. He just felt like he wasn't open enough because Mahomes he's ready to throw this ball right here. I don't know if he felt like the defender was too close. These out routes are very dangerous. If there's any chance of this guy undercutting it, you could be in trouble. So for some reason, though, you can see Mahomes right here. He's gearing to throw it right there as Juju's making that break, and he decides against it. He doesn't want it. So for some reason, he felt like this was too risky of a play to make. As far as the 3-man rush, the Chiefs actually start out okay with, the DJ Humphreys gets chip help from P. Ryan. Jawan Taylor is actually holding his own against Khalil Mack. Trey Smith then comes back to help. So does Joe Thuney. But the craziest thing, the guy who's old reliable on the offensive line, I don't know, maybe you could say Joe Thuney's old reliable, but Creed Humphrey also. Creed gets beat. I mean, that almost never happens, but Creed gets beat right up the middle. And so after Mahomes turns down the play, he sees the daylight ahead because Creed has been beaten, and he decides to make a go for it. Like I said, there are 2 underneath defenders this time instead of the normal 1, and then you have your cover 1 safety. And as he decides to make a run for it, remember it's just 3rd and 4, so here's the first down marker right up here. Unfortunately, as he decides to make a run for it, like we talked about last time, again, Joey Bosa is able to backtrack this time. I think that the tackles really had the defensive ends for the Chargers had a lot of awareness about when Mahomes was going to try to step up and scramble, and they did a great job in this game backtracking to tackle to get sacks. I think, unfortunately, too, it just so happened that Mahomes' scramble coincided with Perine's chip on Bosa. So what that does is when Perine kind of lays a hit into him, he's completely disengaged from any lineman. If Humphreys has been blocking him during the scramble, it's possible he would not have been able to backtrack. As you can see here, he's not engaged whatsoever with anybody as Mahomes comes out, which makes it pretty easy for him to come over and prevent Mahomes from scrambling. Khalil Mack on the other side wasn't able to backtrack because Trey Smith just laid waste to him. Look at that block right there from Trey Smith. Just absolutely crushes Khalil Mack. But unfortunately, Bosa was able to backtrack, and Mahomes, I think, would have taken his chances with the one-on-one with the linebacker. You could see he was already pump faking him into the air, and he was going to try to scramble for 4 yards, and very well might have gotten it. But unfortunately, Bosa backtracked and got the sack, and again, Chiefs were not able to convert. So of all things, this time it ended up being Creed that lost, which I think is safe to say, unless Creed is hurt or gets hurt, that's not something that's going to be a long-term worry for this offensive line, is that Creed Humphrey is going to get beaten frequently up the middle on pass plays. But he did here. And here you can see Mahomes' escape. Let's actually wind it back just a little bit so you can see the moment. Here he's looking for Juju. And if you watch Mahomes closely right here, you'll see him. He was going to throw right there. He thought about it, but for some reason he didn't want it. And I'm guessing had something to do with, the pick not being perfect, and then there was a chance that that defender could have undercut the throw. And I think when he comes up here, he sees that the front has been vacated. He's going to take his chances. But Bosa, like we said, this just happens to be the right moment for Bosa. He's just been hit by Perine, not engaged with a blocker whatsoever. It wasn't hard for him to backtrack and get Mahomes. So again, we've had 4 different reasons why there have been pressure. 1 was individually Humphreys. 2 was a stunt on the right side of the offensive line. 3 was a stunt on the left side of the offensive line. 4 was the all-pro Creed Humphrey, the center, losing. So lots of different things going wrong, unfortunately, for the Chiefs in this one. Well, now it's 7:55 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs have a 3rd and 5 here deep in Chargers territory. They're still up 3-0 at this point. And the Chiefs come out here lined up in, this is 11 personnel. So they've got 1 running back, Samaje Perine, 1 tight end, Travis Kelce. That gets you 11 personnel. Their wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, and DeAndre Hopkins. So they're going to run Worthy in motion. Looks like a man look because he had somebody run with him. And this does end up being man coverage. What the Chiefs do is they run Hopkins toward the pylon. Kelce kind of releases in and then runs more of a corner. Juju releases more out and then runs an over. And Worthy, behind it all, runs a whip route. Perine goes out to the flat. And the Chargers run that same coverage we just talked about on their last play. They rush 3 and they play cover 1 man. Playing cover 1 man gives them 2 underneath defenders since they're only rushing 3. And everybody is manned up. So they start with rush 3, and this time the pressure is pretty easily explained by DJ Humphreys just not being ready for Khalil Mack's speed around the edge. He just gets beaten straight around the edge, and he affects this throw by Mahomes. So this was just a one-on-one loss. The other 2 defenders were handled pretty well, and there were no chips given out in this situation. One does wonder what might have happened if Perine had helped on this play for Humphreys. They decided not to give him any help and send 7 straight out. The reason why one might wonder is because this throw was for Worthy, and Worthy absolutely cooked his defender on this whip route. Comes in, his man-to-man defender is right here. Look at Worthy come in and out, like his man is ready for the inside route. That shows how well Worthy sold this. So look, the key to a whip route is your defender has to believe you're running a crosser, and then you stop on a dime and come out. And look at how Worthy comes in. His defender is committed to go, and look at what happens to his defender as he turns around. Just completely left in the dust. This is one of the underneath defenders. I told you they'd be able to have two underneath defenders since they only rush two. But if Mahomes is throwing it here, if this is an accurate ball, this is a walk-in touchdown for Xavier Worthy. He is definitely open here. If the ball, he's just not able to throw an accurate ball. I don't know if you can see it on the All-22, but the ball flutters down pretty far from Worthy because Mahomes got hit as he threw. But an accurate pass here is a touchdown, and you can tell that Worthy knows it. He's pretty upset. Would love to have that one back. If they had just been able to hold off for half a second longer, hold Mac off, this probably is a touchdown. And you can see the rush from this side. It's Humphreys getting beat around the edge here by Khalil Mack. This is one of those plays where you just hope, Humphreys is getting back into game shape, still getting used to those game reps. But, if this throw is on Worthy, nobody's stopping him from getting in the end zone, and he knows it too. So we're at 5:56 to go in the third quarter now. The Chiefs are up 13-7. The Chargers just had that long drive in the third quarter. After being down 13-0 at halftime, the Chargers went all the way down the field, took more than half of the third quarter and scored a touchdown. And this is the Chiefs' ensuing drive. They're facing a 3rd and 1 in their own territory around the 24-yard line or so. So what they're going to do on this play, first they're going to motion Kelsey over. So they're coming out here in 11 personnel again. Their one running back is Isaiah Pacheco. One tight end, Travis Kelsey, gets you 11 personnel. Then Hopkins, Worthy, and Watson are the 3 wide receivers. Chargers are going to be playing man. They're playing a cover 1 man. This time they're rushing 4, so there's only 1 underneath defender. And the Chiefs run a similar man-beating concept to the one they tried to run with Juju Smith-Schuster. They're going to have Watson come and sit, Kelsey run through, and they're going to try to run Worthy underneath that to see if they can use this traffic to get Worthy free underneath. Hopkins on this side is just going to run over, and Pacheco is going to be part of the pass protection. They're actually going to move the pocket over to the left, so they leave Bosa unblocked, shift everybody. I said left. It's the offense's right. They move the pocket over to the right, and so try to roll Mahomes over and see if he can't get Worthy coming out over to the right. So what ends up happening here they go. They roll the pocket to the right. The Chargers actually pass this off pretty well. So they're kind of playing more based on release rather than the man. So it looks like he's going to take the inside-most guy. He's going to take the middle. He's going to take the outside-most guy. So even though he lines up across from Watson and Worthy's kind of running through where you'd hope this defender is going to run to have to chase him, the Chargers just switch responsibilities. So they switch up. 36 ends up just taking Watson, and this guy over here will stay with Worthy since Worthy ends up coming all the way out. Because of that, when Mahomes gets over and wants to throw this, he's worried about this defender driving on the pass. Ends up being a dangerous throw. At the very least, he's looking at Worthy getting lit up, but it's also possible that this pass could be intercepted. So not a good idea to throw, so Mahomes stops. Play didn't work, and then he backtracks. Hopkins sees this, and I love his ad-lib instincts. He's going to be so good with Mahomes as the year progresses, and Hopkins actually wins pretty handily. Like, he really gets open over here, but unfortunately Mahomes is pressured by this point and isn't able to get him an accurate throw. If Mahomes was able to get this throw off over to Hopkins, this really could have been interesting. I think this would have been a big gain because Hopkins really did a great job ad-libbing and got open here. The reason why Mahomes is pressured is because Juwan Taylor gets walked back by Khalil Mack here, right into Mahomes' face, and then ultimately tossed down. And so that makes it almost impossible for Mahomes. He's trying to buy a little bit of time. He shifts left, but ultimately Mack is on him. And since Mack's coming from his right side, Mahomes has to lean over to the left to get a clean throw off, and he's not able to get a clean throw off. Can't complete it. It's really unfortunate. So when kind of judging the protection on this play, yes, Taylor loses here. He does lose slowly. And I mean, the reason why the ad-lib doesn't work is because Taylor lost. However, it's hard to put this as a major loss here. Like, the reason why this play didn't work is because this play didn't work, right? Mahomes got pressured on the second creation part of the play, which still not ideal. Like, someone who's making as much money as Juwan Taylor, you'd hope would be able to, if he's just able to hang on versus Khalil Mack, then the Chiefs could have completed a huge play here. But it's not like he gave up a quick pressure. He died a slow death, as they say. It's just that the play that was designed to try to get Worthy open didn't work. The Chargers did a good job passing it off, and the Chiefs had no secondary option on this play. I mean, they had Hopkins, who didn't win over on the drag route, but he did win on the second play. Unfortunately, the Chiefs got pressure too quickly to get to a second play. You can see it here. Taylor gets walked back. You can see how close Mahomes got to throwing this ball. He wanted it, but he didn't love what he had. Then as he backtracked, nobody was able to really get open. And look at the angle he's having to try to throw this ball to Hopkins. He's just not able to get it there. But you can see here how open Hopkins was. Like, if Mahomes could have actually got a throw out here, well, that would have been a big game. It's hard to say this was 100% fault of the offensive line, right? Because like I said, dying a slow death is still a neutral play for an offensive lineman. The play didn't work, and we do want offensive linemen to be able to allow for the second play ad-lib when you have Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. So there's definitely a portion of blame here on Juwan Taylor, but I would say the primary reason for the pressure on this play is that unfortunately the play didn't work. The Chargers passed it off really well. Kudos to them. The Chiefs ran a play that kind of had one option, maybe one secondary option was DeAndre Hopkins, and neither option was open. And so Mahomes got pressured as he tried to make it into the secondary play. Weren't able to convert the first down. All right, so the final failed third down of the game that Next Gen Stats recorded a pressure on Mahomes for comes at 13:17 to go in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs have a 3rd and 16. If you'll recall, they would have had a 3rd and 1, but they had a 15-yard penalty on Trey Smith for unnecessary roughness after the play. It's a 3rd and 16, and they are down 14-13 at this point. The Chargers just had 2 touchdown drives and took the lead after the Chiefs had been up 13-0. So looking to convert here, otherwise they'll have to kick a field goal. And the Chiefs come out here in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends are Travis Kelce, Noah Gray. The running back is Samaje Perine. Then they've got Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins as the wide receivers. So what they're going to do, that the Chargers are essentially running a quarters coverage. So they're having each, let's see, I think he plays this outside quarter. Sorry if I'm giving people incorrect responsibilities. One of these 2 guys is going to play the outside quarter. The other one is going to play an underneath zone. Actually, let's look at it real quick and see who's doing what. Oh, okay, so he's playing the underneath zone. So your quarters are 1. Each of these guys is responsible for 1 quarter of the field deep. And then they have 3 guys underneath. 1, 2, 3 underneath. So they're really preventing anything down the field deep. And what the Chiefs are going to do, they're going to get Kelce coming on an over, Worthy coming on an over, and then Hopkins is going to come and then run a corner pattern, try to get in between the 2 quarters guys. Pirine is going to chip the tackle and go out to the flat, and Noah Gray is going to chip, chip the defensive end and go out to the flat, and Noah Gray is going to do the same thing. So they essentially have three like real routes on this play. So as you see, Mahomes drops back. You see Gray helping Taylor over here. Pirine's going to chip to help on the left side. And here's the route combination. As you can see, the pocket's just kind of collapsing here, all in all. Like everyone's kind of crushing the pocket to create pressure, but Mahomes actually, his throw wasn't really affected greatly by the pressure. If you look at the timing, he's going to come back, hit the back of his drop, 1, 2, and he gets a throw off. So there was pressure there, but this isn't a situation where I would say pressure derailed the play. The play was a long developing play. You know, he got his adequate, 3+ seconds to read the defense. It looks like he got a full 3 seconds at least. So gets the throw off to Hopkins. This is a great throw. He hits the corner shot exactly like we were talking about. Hopkins runs his route and manages to get in between this guy and this guy. This defender is giving, he's not as deep on this play, partially because you want to be able to high-low him, right? Because if you have everybody over the top of Hopkins at this stage where the first down marker is here, then Mahomes could just throw it somewhere around there and nobody would be able to get to it. So you're trying to get multiple levels on him. Plus, somebody's got to have some eyes on the underneath flat guy as well. So that's why he doesn't quite have the depth that these guys do. But Mahomes is able to get that throw right there in the corner between the two of them. Hopkins gets it, and honestly, there's just a great hit put on by the safety. Like, this is a very challenging catch because of that hit. Hopkins, the ball just comes out. If there's one man that I would expect, and I did expect to make this catch, it's Hopkins. I'm sure he expected to make it himself too because his hands are so great. I mean, this is hard to it's a drop, but it's like a very high degree of difficulty play. Hopkins has had 2 drops in 2 games. I am anticipating we won't see another drop for the rest of the season in playoffs. That's just, his hands are so good. And this was just really unfortunate. But I'm not actually overly concerned from the pressure side of things here. We can look at the line on this play. I mean, the Chargers do get some pressure, but it's slow burn pressure. As you can see, they kind of collapse the pocket, but nobody's coming free. It was a good job at the end by Bosa as the defensive tackle is coming in to loop around, so it ends up being kind of like a stunt, but he runs into his own guy. Mahomes actually, he did manage to step into this, but then his plant leg gets hit at the end. But it is a pressure, but it's not like somebody failed on the on this play. I think that it was kind of a slow burn pressure. If the Chiefs give these up throughout the year, I'm not going to be nearly as worried. This kind of pressure is fine. If it takes 3 to 4 seconds for pressure to come, a lot of times Mahomes will be able to make something happen in that time. But that is it for the third down failures. Plus, we also showed the first pass of the game that was up to pressure. So I'll really think about it being 6 or 5.5 of these plays were pressure. This play, I'm not really concerned about. We saw the rollout that Jawan Taylor, maybe you give him half a pressure for that because it was really the second part of the play where he gave up pressure. He kind of died a slow death in the first part, so I'm not overly worried about that. So if you're keeping track, basically 2 pressures were due to DJ Humphreys on the left side. 1 was due to Creed Humphrey losing, which I'm not expecting to see. That's kind of like the DeAndre Hopkins drop thing. Yeah, it happened, not expecting to see it again this season. 1 pressure was due to the right side of the line not being able to handle a stunt. 1 pressure was due to the left side of the line not being able to handle a stunt. And then you could say maybe half a pressure for Jawan Taylor on the rollout play. So a lot of different things, right? The Humphreys part of it, we're all hoping that we'll get better as he plays more, right? This was his first game back after a long absence, so those two pressures hopefully could be eliminated going forward. Creed Humphrey, I'm not worried about at all. I don't care about that pressure. Everybody has a bad snap here and there. The one for Taylor on the right side, Taylor's actually held up pretty well on his own in pass protection for most of the year, so, it's a little worrisome. He's not an elite right tackle by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm hoping he'll hold up okay in pass protection. It's more the stunts that concern me. The stunt on the left side, we can also hope that DJ Humphreys and Joe Tini will figure things out as they play together more. The stunts on the right side have been a real problem. So that's the one area of worry to me. I think you could read this two ways, right? There's so many different individual causes of pressure. One could say that's a bad thing because everybody's messing up, or you could say that's a good thing because nobody's consistently messing up. These are things that theoretically could get cleaned up. And if even one or two of them were cleaned up in this game, we might have had a lot more points, So all in all, I'm not choosing to worry a ton about this. The only thing that kind of really worries me a lot is that right-sided stunts. As you know, like those of you who are following along, I've done a video about this before already. After the Panthers game, I am concerned about this, and I think it's something they're going to have to figure out, especially the end tackle stunts, which I think, as Mitchell Schwartz pointed out on Twitter, the big thing is going to be Jawan Taylor is going to have to figure out his depth of his set relative to Trey Smith. But we'll see how it goes going forward. The Chiefs have shown a propensity to get these things figured out as they get toward the end of the year in the playoffs, and until they prove me wrong, I'm going to continue to believe that they will do so in this situation as well.